Well, hello everyone. This is Chrystal Lynn, Cowgirl Astrologer, and I am coming on tonight to talk about a very real and a very intense topic. And I know that most of you watching right now, you know, have a little bit of understanding of this topic. It's a very popular topic right now. And it is why I would like to talk about this topic. I'll go into more detail in a little different way. We have a lot of videos out there explaining this unusual yet long time historical relationship between the narcissist and the empath. But I am going to present to you today a little different perspective, an astrological perspective, and some of my own personal theories. If you guys got a chance to watch my last video, I'm doing some more in-depth topics on family dynamics and astrological family dynamics. And I did share a very, very personal story. I hope you'll get a chance to watch it because I feel like it really can open the door again to, understanding astrological patterns and understanding what we all go through. Sometimes in life, it can get very confusing. What we go through, relationships we go through, the pains we go through, why do we have to go through them? And yet, if we can understand them, I believe that we can truly live a more victorious life and not live the victimized life. So first of all, I want to say, because this is a popular topic and those of you out there maybe watching may have no concept of how astrology could possibly link to this topic. But as an astrologer, I read a lot of charts. I've had my own personal experiences, and I have seen a very specific pattern when I'm looking at the astrological chart. So for those of you who are not familiar, just briefly, I'm going to explain that the day that you were born, there was a certain astrological lineup up in the sky. We often, read these memes, on Facebook. I just read one the other day, the top serial killers and, the Gemini, the Virgo, the Pisces. And, we think, oh, I'm not in that group, so that couldn't be me. But what you have to understand is when we look into the moment you were born, we're not just reading where the sun was at. That's very general, and that's only a very small part of who you are. We need to look at other astrological configurations. Where was the moon? What sign was the moon in when you were born? Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the south and north node. These are eclipses. What was happening in the big picture tells us a much more dynamic story. Now, it's really hard because I think, especially when we start getting into astrology, and even as myself, as an astrologer, I can see the good in people's chart. I can see the potential. And people come to me. I mean, if somebody's going to take the time to really book an appointment and have a reading and allow someone to come in and read their soul and read their story, there's somebody that's usually very open, okay, very open to insight. So I'm not talking to those people. If you're watching this video and you're open to insight and you're open to looking at yourself and you're willing to do that, you're probably not going to fall into this category. Unfortunately, the hardest part of the other side, I should say, of looking at what was happening up in the sky is that we can also see that certain astrological configurations that we're born under can be, very disturbing or very difficult, or we may be born under very intense times. And so we embody that energy. We know that we live in a fallen world, and we know that we don't live in a perfect world. And so people have, physical ailments, diseases. People are born with mental situations. And a lot of times I can see that in the astrological chart, the potential for that. For example, I'm just going to give a little brief example and then we'll move in this direction. But I thought I would use the example of serial killers, because I saw this meme and it kind of irritated me because it was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to this. It's just not just the beginning. But often, if you look at the astrological lineups of somebody who is very disturbed in that way, you are going to see a very specific pattern of how the planets lined up that day. And almost in every case that I've looked up, I have seen a conjunction. And a conjunction is when the planets are all in one sign. Okay, that doesn't happen every day. They move around. They're constantly moving. And it opens us up. But when you have, for example, the Sun, Mars, Saturn, possibly the South Node or the North Node conjunct in a sign, it can create a very intense obsessive mind. Okay, so when you look at these charts of very extreme people, they did not handle this energy very well. Okay, a lot of it can have to do with how we are raised. All of those things come into play. But often when you see certain patterns in astrology, over and over specific types of people. Okay, so to understand that, we also then have to understand what sign is that pattern in, to give us an idea to what type of mindset that person has. For example, I was going to give you a really good example. I just lost his name. Hang tight with me here. If you see a Scorpio lineup, okay, this is somebody that's probably going to be somebody that potentially captures people, hides people, puts them in a prison type thing, where that is very, very, very disturbing. Okay. Again, this is a fueled energy that turns into really a malefic type of energy. It's the shadow side, okay? An extreme. So if I'm out there and you're listening to this and you say, oh, I'm a Scorpio, that wouldn't happen to me. No, because you may not have those patterns that fuel this off balance, okay? This obsessive energy that you don't know what to do with. Now, I have seen those patterns that I talked about that you will see in serial killers, okay? Also in people that do amazing, great things. They're usually very famous or infamous. You see, these things can go both ways. I looked up a chart of a serial killer not that long ago that had this Virgo lineup. And, their big common thing was chopping up bodies, okay? Because Virgo isolates and, likes to look at every little body part. So this energy came out obsessively and in a really negative way. But you see the sign energy. You see when it goes bad. So, yes, I'm here to tell you that not everybody has, a mindset that allows for insight and development. Some people have really missing pieces. When you have a lot of conjunctions in your chart in one sign, what's difficult about that, and when I say, these conjunctions, usually it's 4 or more in one sign. What happens is it's really difficult for you to see other perspectives, okay? To be able to go, ooh, I feel this way, but at the same time, I can look at a more rational situation and bring those two together. A perfect example, and I'm going to use myself as an example because I just feel like, again, I've said it before, as an astrologer, if you can't look at your own astrology, you really can't help other people. But I am born on a full moon, okay? And I'm born with the sun in Virgo and the moon in Pisces. Well, the sun in Virgo is very analytical. It's very earthy, it's very grounded, needs security, wants to know what's going on. The moon in Pisces is at the stage, the 12th sign of the zodiac, that wants to let go. Forget about it. It'll all work out. Don't worry about it. So every single day in my life, I have to navigate this opposition. And sometimes it's really not easy. So, you have this, side that can be obsessive and look at every single detail. And then, I often can't pull that off because this moon in Pisces of mine keeps me floating in this world of no time. So how do I bring that together? This is how I do it. I share the intuitive, the spiritual side along with the details. I'm learning to integrate these two energies. But what helps me is that I'm able to look at different perspectives. I'm able to see things from different angles. So when we look at something like narcissism, okay, what is narcissism? I looked up the Wikipedia here, just to give you a little general, everybody kind of has a feel for what we're talking about here, but I thought it would be kind of interesting. So here, narcissism is the pursuit of gratification from vanity or egotism, admiration of one's own attributes. The term originated from Greek mythology, where the young Narcissus fell in love, that was his name, fell in love with his own image reflected in a pool of water. Now, this topic, as I look back in history, this has been a topic that has been going on. This is nothing new. Books have been written about this, dating all the way back to 1752. Okay, The Self-Admirer, 1898. Havelock Ellis, an English psychologist, used the term narcissist-like in reference to excessive behavior, where the person becomes, his own object. 1899, there was books being written about it. Sigmund Freud published a paper on narcissism in 1914 called On Narcissism, an Introduction. 1923, Martin Buber published an essay in which he pointed out that our narcissism often leads us to relate to others as objects instead of as equals. So we know that it is originated in this overinflated ego. Okay, now you'll hear a lot of spiritual people talk about, kill the ego. Well, that ain't going to happen. The ego is a part of all of us. We all have a base ego that protects us, that helps us navigate the world, that gives us this confidence to say, hey, I'm important. I have something to say. And if you look at where we are right now in our society, narcissism is highly praised. Facebook and the internet is the narcissist's dream, because they can come on, okay? They can come on and they can, show the best of themselves, right? We can show the best of our lives. How many likes do we get? How many comments do we get? It's a constant feeding of this ego, okay? Now, there's narcissism, ego, strong ego, that's healthy. Okay, I know that may sound kind of weird, but there's a healthy ego that we all need to have. When this turns negative, and you'll hear different terms like the covert narcissist, is when this becomes a true psychological, psychiatric problem where it's no longer healthy, okay? And so to talk about this is a lot to try to pull together, guys, so hang with me, but I think that you'll find some of this really interesting. To talk about the patterns that I see in the astrological chart that often show me somebody that truly doesn't have the ability for insight, that all they can see in themselves is themselves, is, again, when you look at strong conjunctions. Now, I'm going to present a theory to you guys, and you can see what you think. And again, I hate doing this to some degree because I don't want people to go, oh my gosh, I have that configuration, something wrong with me. There's a lot of the whole picture that you have to look at. I am just throwing out some concepts that I do see over and over again, okay? And I'll explain to you potentially why. First of all, we need to look at the fire signs, okay? Because fire really is the most powerful element in the zodiac in terms of strong ego, strong knowing of who you are, okay? And a lot of times we admire the fire signs. They get stuff done, okay? They're this powerful confidence. So what are our fire signs? We know that Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are our fire signs. But what happens is most people are able to navigate, like I said, perception. Often, okay, when I see people born on a new moon, which is the sun and moon in one sign, or their ascendant in sun conjunct in the fire signs, all right? And this also would include a conjunction with the south node, okay? In astrology, the south node represents really a place of detachment. Some believe because we've already experienced that in life and we're moving towards our north node, which is the opposite sign, which happens about 30 to 35 years old, okay? But when you have the sun, moon, conjunct the south node, it can sometimes, of course, in a fire sign, create this inability to see any other perspectives because you're getting fueled with this potential energy. Now, again, please, if you have this configuration and you're watching this, don't worry other than take a look to see, you know, what areas that you can open up and learn other perspectives. Now, people, we're going to go to the actual narcissist now, okay? People who are born with the inability, okay, inability, something's missing, all right? Something's detached from this ability to self-generate creativity, self-generate love. We get insight, we get this ability to create energy and put it out there from above, okay, or from within. When that is missing, these people cannot self-generate it. So they have to find it somewhere else, okay, because this is, they know and want to continue to fuel this energy. So when they're looking out at you, okay, and they see that you're able to self-generate, that you have a strong confidence within who you are, they want to emulate and gain that from you because they don't have that piece, okay? Now, again, if you look at astrology, okay, we know that we don't just look at our sun sign. We look at the time you were born, which is called your ascendant, which is your outer persona. We look at the moon, okay, which is your soul. So if you take the fire signs, all right, now I have Mars and Leo, you guys. So, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to, I've got this little fear of, you know, creating deep concern within someone. But I need to get this message out so that we all can really look at our surroundings right now and what's going on. When you look at the fire signs, the sun, the ascendant, and the moon will carry the energy in their fourth house, which represents mother and how they were raised in a water sign. So for the Leo rising, and like I said, the sun and moon will carry this energy as well. Their fourth house is in Scorpio. Our fourth house in astrology represents often how we are raised. If we look at where your fourth house was placed by calculating in these details, we can often see that your mother or the way you were raised was very plutonic, very scorpionic. Okay. Aries, fourth house in Cancer. So now we have a mother with this that could represent this Cancer type energy. Okay. Sagittarius rising, Sagittarius sun and moon will carry the fourth house mother energy from Pisces. Now, when we look at the water signs, all right, I have a lot of water in my chart too. The water signs often carry with them a lot of trauma, a lot of emotional trauma. Okay, we are the empaths, we are the intuitives, and we're the healers, and we carry with us often a lot of trauma. And if you have a mother that surrounds this energy, whether she's a water sign mother or not, okay, your fourth house can be very turbulent for the fire signs. So the fire signs often are raised with this confusing sense of who they are, their ego. And yet, if we look at a healthy fire sign, okay, you're supposed to have a strong ego. You're the leaders. You're the ones that fuel the energy behind the world to get things done. You're supposed to have a strong feeling for who you are. The Aries has a strong identity. I am. Who am I? I am. I've always been. And they lead. Okay, they're the first ones to go through the front lines. Come on, you guys, I'll go first. All right. I mean, who does that? You know, usually it's like, no, you go. No, you go. Aries, I'll go. Come on. Okay. The Leo, ruled by the sun. So the Leo energy, we just always admire the Leos, don't we? Because they are just, it's like this warm feeling. And when they inspire you, you feel like you're the only one in the world, don't you? And that you're so special because they know they're so special. And a healthy Leo wants everyone else to be special too. The Sagittarius, the guru, the knowing, I know, the master. To have a strong Sagittarius fire sign, that's somebody that we look up to. Okay, we learn from, we gain from. So a strong ego as a Sagittarius is a healthy thing. They're the ones who are, like I said, the gurus, the professors. How do they get there? Because they're smart. And they have this fueling, firing energy. But when you take this energy and you get too much of a good thing, sometimes you will see these people, because of their mother trauma and something didn't happen in those early years, they didn't get that healthy feeling. They end up spending their whole life with a very wounded, very damaged ego. Okay. Now, can these people change is the big question. You change a narcissist, a narcissist, someone that can only protect their ego. They're protecting their ego at all costs to the death. You have to understand the psychological understanding here. So, for example, if you have, say, sun, moon, and several other planets in one of these fire signs conjunct your south node of detachment, okay, you may feel like you can never get that secure feeling of your ego that you need to change the world. There's something missing. Can these people ever change? What happens a lot of times is as people move into their north node and get out of that eclipse, the opposite sign, okay? So for example, if you have a Sun in Aries conjunct your south node and you're struggling with identity your whole life, and you got this crazy mom that and you the way a typical Cancer mom would, because remember, sometimes energies just don't go right up in the sky. We know that when we see horrible things happen all over the world. We understand that, and we look at the astrology of that, and we see this very aggressive energy around that. Sometimes we're born in that. So when these people go through a transition into their 30s, into their north node, which would then be in Libra, there are potential opportunities for them to suddenly go, oh my gosh, I've lived this whole life like this, fighting for myself, fighting everyone around me, and I suddenly start caring about other people. Okay, can this happen? Yes, but certain cases, now we're going to go to the extreme shadow side, when there are certain aspects, and again, there's many more I look at. These are really basic, okay? Certain aspects and certain traumas carry with them into their future as well, and they can actually take that energy and then be in groups and have more damage going on in those situations, okay? Have you ever, you know, we all watch those inspirational stories, right? When people go, oh, I lived my whole life on drugs and I was killing people, and, you know, then I had this come to Jesus meeting, and now I'm living my whole entire life for serving God, and I'm so repentive of everything I've ever done, and they're able to have this huge awakening, okay? That is somebody that when they passed over that eclipse actually was able to develop insight. Is it possible? I think there's some possibilities, but this is on different levels, you guys. There's different levels of this. You know, can a serial killer ever come to true repentance? You know, I mean, you know, I can't answer those questions in an absolute, because some types of configurations in the astrological chart are very fixed, okay, are very fixed. So those that I'm talking to right now are those of you who I believe have insight. And because narcissism, I believe, is an astrological configuration, people often say, you know, that the mother has it, the daughter has it, it's, you know, all of those things. But when we look into the chart, the family dynamics, we will often see these fire sign replicas going down from generation to generation, or the mother trauma going down from generation to generation, okay? It's not our job to try to figure out if somebody can change. Unfortunately, in our day and age, we have to use our intuition and use the red flag system to protect ourselves. Because if you truly believe that you have something special to offer your life, you have to take care of your realm of influence, your family, the things that you've been entrusted. And when somebody very narcissistic comes into your life, they can, one, completely steal your identity, two, take you down, all right, and three, make you feel like you know nothing, all right, make you feel completely inadequate. And you have to understand, when, again, we're talking the deep, dark shadow side of this, okay, they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now, where does the empath come in on this? Okay, go with me here. The empath is usually, we see a strong water sign signature. So we see the Cancer, the Scorpio, and the Pisces, okay? Now, think about it a minute. What is the one thing that was disturbed in those early years for these people? Often is the mother that carried the water sign signature in the 4th house. So here a Pisces comes along, a nice little happy empath Pisces, okay? And suddenly the narcissist, who doesn't have the ability to self-love, self-create, needs this mother energy, okay? Needs this mother energy because they didn't get it. And you have it. So you're the helper. You're the one listening to every word they say. You want to help. And often these people have the ability to mimic what's acceptable. So they know that if they can tell you their stories, their sob stories, that you as an empath are going to feel for them, okay? But because they're not looking for the mother energy in a healthy way, okay, excuse my air conditioner back there, you guys. Because they're not looking for the mother energy in a healthy way, they want it for themselves because they cannot exchange that energy back to you. It's not self-generating inside of themselves, okay? It's not there. But because the ego becomes so inflated, they have to look good at all costs. They have to continue to feed, which they call the narcissistic supply, to feed this energy by taking it from other people. Okay? By taking it from other people. And so the empath becomes the perfect target. Now here's the problem. Okay? The empath often struggles with a certain level of ego or self-love. The water signs, because they have so much, they go through so much emotional turbulence, it's not something easy to be like, I love myself every day. They go through ups and downs and self-doubt and looking at others and where do I fit in? They feel a little odd because it's the ocean, it's the water. And it's not something it's not fixed. You know, it's not something that you can control. Okay? So they struggle with this self-ego. And what does the narcissist have? This overinflated ego. So they start telling you how great you are, how amazing you are, how special you are. And you know what? We eat it up, okay? The Pisces energy eats it up. The Cancer energy, somebody to give us this fuel of passion beyond ourselves. They start out making you feel good. There's a very systematic pattern to this. Okay, so you can't have one without the other. All right? They need what you have and you need what they have. The problem is, again, because I'm talking about the extreme level of a mental disorder, of a missing piece inside. Something didn't happen quite right and it's not there. This becomes a very dangerous relationship. Extremely dangerous. Okay. Now, on a personal level, I am a narcissist magnet. Okay. Because, and I'm just going to again explain a little bit about myself, and this has been a pattern in my life over and over and over again. One thing, again, that I said earlier that the narcissist does not have is a self-generating creative force that they go to. And so they're very resentful of that. They want that because they see that when you're a creative person and you kind of love yourself and you're throwing your stuff out there and you don't need anybody to pat you on the back and, here I am. How do they have that? Inside of themselves. I want that. Okay. So this gets intense, you guys. So again, thank you for bearing with me. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, but it is kind of emotional for me. But I have a Pisces moon. So when I'm around the fire signs, I love that energy to fuel the creativeness around me. So I often, Pisces, for example, often look at life through rose-colored glasses. I immediately people, these people come off as amazing people, and it's like you almost get blinded by them. Okay. And it takes a little while, you're listening to their stories and you're listening to their life, and you're talking about ideas together and you're excited, and suddenly things start to happen, and you start to notice that you're doing all the giving, but when you walk away from that relationship, you kind of feel empty. You don't really, it's not really lasting. That exchange isn't really fueling you, okay, to continue. And you start to feel drained, and you start to feel tired. And often you're sharing all your ideas and you're pouring your heart out to them, okay, because you're thinking you're having this really awesome exchange. But as you're pouring your heart out to them, you have to understand they're taking this information in completely differently than you have any idea about. They're looking for your faults. They're looking for your weaknesses. They're looking for where your vulnerabilities are. Okay. So maybe you tell them something really personal. And then all of a sudden, maybe, this can happen in social media in so many different ways. They start posting something, or posting things that are directed towards your vulnerability or weakness, making that even more disturbing. What you do, this really open, giving person. I want everyone to be happy. Maybe they're inspired by me. Great. They start talking like you. They start commenting like you. They start, if you post something and let's say you show a little bit of, oh, I'm having a bad day, message me. What's wrong? And again, I've done that with friends. Hey, are you okay? Message me. I'm not saying the good-hearted person. You guys have to separate this. There's a good-hearted person that's going to share, be inspired by you, or like what you're doing and share those things. I'm talking about someone who is taking what you have because they don't have it. Okay. They absolutely don't have it within themselves. And you're, being this really good person. You think you're giving, the Cancer is the nurturer. So, they're the ones that, if they get caught up in this narcissistic relationship with someone, they're over there giving them soup. They're over there making them feel better, getting them well, spending all their energy over there. And then meanwhile, this person is just taking. And this person gets back and empowered, and there's no recognition at all that somebody even helped them. And you kind of feel like, not that you're necessarily doing it for recognition, but it's like you didn't exist. Okay. Now, the Scorpio energy, the only thing I can say about the Scorpio and the Narcissist, because Scorpio is a fixed sign, and they're ruled by Mars, okay, and co-ruled by Pluto. They're not going to give it away so easy. Okay. So you guys are lucky. All right. But you can slowly be manipulated and, drained of your wisdom, drained of who you are by these people. It can happen to all of us. So again, I'm just talking about fire and water right now. There's all the other elements have their play in this story, but we're talking about, we hear so much, the narcissist and the empath. The dominant energy is fire and water here. Okay? Fire and water. So let's talk a little bit about some of the red flags. Okay? Some of the red flags. So again, the red flags are feeling really drained in this relationship. They suddenly find out how to push your boundaries. Okay, like you set a boundary, but then they just push it. You know, you say, oh, I'm really busy today, but they pop in anyway. Okay, or you're trying to go out with another friend, and suddenly, you know, they want to know everything about that friend. They want that friend. They want to be connected to that friend because they want that same energy. If you're somebody that is admired by other friends and other people naturally, you know, you're just doing your thing and people love you, they're watching. Why do people love her? I want what she's doing. Okay, or he's doing. Okay. But this can get very, very, very painful when you're dealing with family situations, because here we now have somebody that has the inability for true empathy, true compassion. They can mimic empathy, but it has no legs. Okay, they're not going to go the long haul to helping someone. They might help someone if it gains them attention for the moment. Okay, they get attention for the moment, but it's not a true empathy that I'm truly concerned about you. They often are concerned about, again, when they find out you have a problem or vulnerability, and they want to know all about it because they're feeding off of it. See, they're feeding off of it. They're taking that from you, those pieces from you, and building up this constant ego that they have to keep fed all the time. When you take away this energy from the narcissist, you will see the biggest temper tantrum you have ever seen. Or, you know, a campaign, a smear campaign put on your life because you are starving them from something that they've been working a long time to gain. They're building while you're depleting. And often we don't even know it's happening until we're exhausted and depressed. And what is wrong with me? Why do I feel like, you know, I don't want you somebody who's a victim of the narcissistic focus, like a full-blown focus on you, you will start to not want to be all yourself and be all in your creative glory and share all of your, you know, exciting things happening. Because you'll start to realize that every time you share something good, they have to do something to one it up. Okay? They have to do something to one you up. So pretty soon, or they'll start to criticize what you're doing. Or they'll start to get you to doubt what you're doing. Because remember, the empath can suffer from doubt. Because to live in this world by your intuition is scary. It doesn't have a perfect little pattern formula. It's like, I just feel like I need to go in this direction. Well, that doesn't make sense. But the empath has to have the confidence to follow through with that. So they'll question you. Or they'll find out your, you know, your own personal fears. You know, if you have, you know, if you have a body image, you know, that you're, you know, oh, I don't like my haircut. You know, yeah, that was a horrible haircut. Or I love my haircut. Oh, I don't like that on you. That's got to go. So then pretty soon you're, you know, kind of afraid because you start becoming under this criticism. Okay. And so you start to shut down. You start to shut down who you are and you start to hide. Okay. You start to hide. But when you do that, they seem to get more intent on what you're doing. Okay. More obsessive. They can stalk you. They're watching. Trust me. They're literally watching everything you're doing, everything you're saying. They're studying you like a book because in a way, you are that object of their gratification. If they can take that from you and energize themselves, they can sustain it. And people go, oh my gosh, they're great. They're really, really good. When they want to, when a narcissist decides to pour their attention on you, let me tell you, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. My dad always used to say, anything too good to be true usually is. It used to make me so mad because I wanted to believe in that too good to be true. But you know what? At 47 years old, anything too good to be true usually is. And these relationships can become very addicting. They're extremely addicting because what happens is they slowly but surely take away your self-confidence. So you start relying on them like a dog with a treat for your self-confidence because they've gained it. They've got what you used to have. Okay? They have it now. And now they will let you know when you can have it. And when you try to start to get away, the stakes go up. Things get worse. So you get stuck in the zone of, I can't leave, I can't go. And I'm reliant on them for my emotional well-being suddenly. How did that happen? These are some of the red flags, you guys, to be looking at. The other thing that they're excellent at doing, and there's a lot of, catchy terms out there, but one of the terms out there is called triangulation, where, they start getting behind the scenes buddy-buddy with your friends and talking about you. Okay, they love to use kind of behind the scene connections. Can't be 3 people in a group. And usually that's always hard too, but it can work, right? When you're all working together and sharing your energy, and can be a good thing. But when you have somebody that's threatened, that this supply is threatened, and they need to keep you down so they can keep feeding off of it because they don't have it inside of them, and they see that you have connections with other people and you're excited and self-generating with other people, that person has to go. And they begin to mimic you and get buddy-buddy with that person. Pretty soon that friend now is caught up. I want to be friends with everybody, so they get caught in this too. You will know a true narcissist if you're not talking about somebody else with them, they don't want anything to do with you. They want you to be caught up in this, pulling you in to this drama, okay? Because this drama continues to create question. The other thing, unfortunately, and one of the most painful things about somebody with true narcissism, okay, again, the extreme disorder, you guys, is that because they study you, like literally they study and obsess about you, they know the things that are the most painful to you. They know the things that would hurt you the most. They figure that out, whether you tell them or not. It doesn't take them long. They know your insecurities, and they will use that thing, the one thing that'll stab you in the heart, to keep you down, to hurt you. And if you've ever been in a relationship and somebody's, that feeling like that just stabbed me in the most, how did they get to that most inner place inside of me? And I just feel like I'm stabbed. Okay, that's not normal. That shouldn't be normal in a relationship. And you may be dealing with somebody that's completely off balance, okay? These are true issues, you guys. I wish I could tell you that every astrological moment was a glorious moment and that we embody glorious energy. But there are situations that aren't so glorious. And people have these disorders, we know that. So separating friends, separating relationships, and they're always at the center. Getting you not to like other people, and then they suddenly like them. They get you all upset, and they tell you things about other people, and then you're like, oh, ew, I don't know if I really like that. Wow. And then you back off because you're the empath, right? And you don't want to get around that. And then suddenly they move in for the kill, and everybody's flocking around them, and you're like, what happened? What happened? Okay, these are very, very specific moves. Gone. You can go on and on and on, and unfortunately, this is very deep-rooted in families. We know in family dynamics that You know, we hear about the scapegoat, the golden child, you know. Often narcissistic parents, you know, will focus highly on the child that is so incredible because they gain, you know, attention that I did this amazing thing and I have this amazing child. But behind the scenes, that child, if it does anything wrong and doesn't constantly feed the parents' ego and need for self-glorification, I mean, that child will just get absolutely berated, and abusive things can happen. So, you know, this is a really heavy topic. I was trying to think if there's anything more I want to say tonight about it, because this is a lot to talk about. A lot of people say, you know, whatever you do, don't confront a narcissist, don't confront the situation. Okay. And I think to some degree, you know what, I gotta turn that off, you guys. I'm so sorry. Driving me crazy. I hope it wasn't too annoying the whole time of this video. These Google Hangouts are hard to do because I don't edit them, and you just get me raw with all my issues. Oh, come on. When I say that I am a narcissistic magnet because of the strong water energy in my chart, and there's another reason, because I do have a strong fire energy in my chart as well. And I shared with you in the beginning that I have a Mars and Leo. So we know that this is strong ego. So it's kind of interesting because part of me is so doubtful and just a little Virgo, like overanalyzing. But when somebody like presses my take me down mode, or you're going to hurt me at the core, or you're going to hurt my family, or you're going to hurt my ego, I can reflect back to a narcissist their same energy. I can take them on. I can see it. You're not taking me down. Oh no, you watch and see what I can do. And it fuels this angry side of me that, oh hell no, you ain't coming any further, and I will set a boundary and I'll cut your ass off, and that'll be it. And so it's gotten me in a lot of trouble. But you know, because when you look at the whole picture of someone, you don't often see that part of them. And for me, there's a certain, like I said, you know, look where your Mars placement is. Where was Mars transiting when you were born? That's your warrior. And often people won't see that side of you unless specific things get triggered. So because it's a fire sign, when somebody tries to personally attack me or my family, or take away what I believe I've been given, and is from above, the self-generating energy, the creative energy, I try to use my Mars and Leo to fuel my creative energy and to inspire others. Sometimes people ask, can an empath become a narcissist? Can an empath then become narcissistic? Or if you're raised by this, can you turn into a narcissist? You have to really, for a true narcissist, have to have some, you know, off planetary aspects. But you can also mimic the narcissist. Water signs are very good at mimicking other people as well, taking on personalities, taking on situations, or knowing what people like and then becoming that. So because I was raised with a lot of this energy around me, I learned to either be, yes, the codependent, trying to fix everybody, never being able to do that. But when I got hurt, beyond hurt, beyond hurt, beyond hurt, over years and years and years and years of these behaviors, it fueled my Mars and Leo, and it brings out the fight in me. And then my ego, and you're not going to have it, and then I can do it back to you. So then I would say to myself, oh my gosh, am I becoming what they're becoming? I can mirror it back. So I've had to really take a look at myself over the last few years, because I spent so many years fighting for my space in life, for my little place, and fighting for my self-worth. Because the problem with a narcissistic person in your life, they they don't have the ability to love you for who you are. And they want to tear down piece by piece who you are. So when you spend your life not being loved for who you are, it's really easy then to not love yourself, because something must be wrong with you. You know, when we love someone, we love them for who they are, even if they're different than us. We love those parts of them. How often do we say it? You know, even when someone passes away, oh, we admire everything about them. But when you are in a situation that every time you show who you are, hi, you know, I'm a little girl, and you know, you dance on the fireplace, and you're singing, and you know, you're just open and vulnerable, and then you get, you know, somebody criticizes that being, that freeness of who you are. It's kind of like a dog that does a trick, and instead of getting a treat, they get an electric shock. So then good becomes bad. Who you are becomes something's wrong with you. Something must be wrong with you. And especially when they tell other people that something's wrong with you. And you start being afraid to be who you are. So you start conditioning yourself to be what's acceptable to those people. And then you're never truly who you are. And when you show that authenticity of who you are, it makes the narcissist extremely uncomfortable, because they do not have authentic ability. They do not have that authentic ability inside. Okay, they don't have that ability to self-generate an authenticity. They have to steal it from others. You know, if you share something that's from your heart, you know, and you're sharing it, pouring it out, and it's very authentic, and people are responding, wow, you really touched me on that. You will see somebody that maybe has a narcissistic personality attempt to try and write something similar, and then people will give them all kinds of attention. But you know, when you're reading it, like, that's not really them at all. Like, that's just so forced. But they can mimic authenticity, but they don't have it. That authentic being of, I just love my life. I love who I am. I love what I've been given. I've taken the good with the bad, and I'm just a survivor. I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to be the underdog, you know, whatever it takes. You accept, and you have insight for your life. That's a beautiful thing. And it's something you have to protect. So I'm going to close by saying, this has just brought out a lot of stuff. If you guys want to discuss this kind of stuff more, I'm willing to do that. I've just felt like this has been something I've needed to share for a long time, and hopefully I did it some justice. There's a lot to say about it. So many people say, if you're trying to get out of a relationship with somebody that has this kind of control over you, you know, do not confront them. I have to agree with that, because I've confronted them. And when you confront them and expose, you know, who they are, they will do anything and everything at all costs to maintain their ego, their image, because it's the only thing that they have. And so you know, they will either completely silence themselves from you, they will talk about you, they will send you negative vibes, they will get involved in things behind the scenes of your life that, you know, they'll just go underground. They won't stop. And it can be very, very, very damaging, very, very, very painful. One thing a narcissist does not like is people who are surrounded by a lot of love and support. For a narcissist to really drain you, they have to get you alone, and they have to isolate you. And that's what ends up happening. You end up isolating yourself from everybody and being completely dependent on this person. They have to isolate you. If you have a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of family, a lot of people, that's way too much work for them. Because you got to remember, they're feeding that narcissistic supply is something that takes a lot to get. They're always working on it. And then when they get it, they get this little high. They're better than you. They got you. You know what I mean? They got you. And so it's always fueling the one up. So the first thing you have to do is not care about the one up game and not care about trying to prove yourself. You're never going to do it. Surround yourself with people. If you've gotten yourself isolated, go get out of that and start surrounding yourself with people. But do not tell them everything you're doing. You also want to eliminate and put a limit on the conversations you're having, because they love to hear when you're struggling. They love to hear when you're having a hard time. So, you know what? You're going to take things on a little bit more business level. Okay? Yeah, everything's great. You know, you don't have to overemphasize. You don't want to underemphasize. Just not giving them anything to really fuel themselves with. It starts getting irritating for them because they're just not getting what they want from you. If things are bad, they're really getting a big fuel, big bite. Okay? So stop giving them that information. Stop pouring your heart on your slave. Okay? Setting boundaries. Absolutely. They do not like boundaries. They feel entitled to your life. So setting boundaries, not responding. You get into this weird guilt, like you feel like obligated and that they are entitled to everything about you. So when they're reaching out to you, you know, it's like you feel like you got to feed it to them real quick. You got to start starving the monster. You got to start starving them and backing off. Not quick replies. You know, and, you know, there was one, in fact, his name is Ross Rosenberg on YouTube. I love his videos on narcissism, and he's a psychotherapist. He does an amazing job. If you want to look him up, I'll put his link below. He really helped me see things in my own life that I had to really look at. He says, run, but silently. And I think, you know, the typical thing for the Pisces is, you know, to swim out the back door. You know, you do have to slowly back out of the situation without creating drama. You're not going to convince them. In confronting them only fuels them more. It gives them a lot to work with. Don't bare your heart and soul to them. Don't bare how much they've hurt you. I try very completely cut off when I finally pour my heart out there, after years and years and years and years. Okay, so it's very devastating when you're completely considered, disconsidered. That's not a word. But you know what I'm talking about. There's no respect. Those aren't elements that they work with. So, you know, sometimes you just need to be busy, even if you're not busy. You have to stay out of reach. You can't be so available. If that means you've got to tone it down on your Facebook and don't put all your glorious stuff for a while, and they have nothing to work with. They have nothing to get, and it drives them crazy. So they will usually get worse before they get better. Surround yourself with a lot of support, though. They don't want to have to climb over a big wall that you surround yourself with. You know, and I say, you know, don't be less than who you are, because that is also one of the biggest symptoms, that you start becoming less than who you are because you don't want to, you know, fuel anything. When I say tone it down, you know, there's a lot of ways to share your excitement and share your creativity and share with other people if you feel you need that in your life with people without being out on Front Street. You don't have to put all your great, brilliant ideas out on Front Street, because they will take them and they'll run with them. And pretty soon you'll be looking at your life on somebody else's Facebook. So you guys, there you have it. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Any comments, any questions? There's a lot more astrological stuff that goes with this. I just, put out a few things to look at. Remember, it's all about, perception. If you want me to take a more detailed look at your chart or family dynamic, or you have questions, I can help you understand the motive. Because each sign that carries this narcissistic pattern, you need to look at the sign to see what they want. Remember, some people want your identity. Some people want your position. Some people want your knowledge. What is it that they want? And if you're a fire sign out there, I absolutely love you guys. This is not, I'm talking about an extreme situation. All the signs hold within them a little bit of cray-cray. Trust me. So those of you who are watching and able to discern what I'm saying and able to gain insight and able to look at yourself, you're just fine. Okay, so you guys can message me or schedule a reading with me at cowgirlastrology.com, and I go deep into these topics and subjects. All right, you guys, have a great night.